Hello, my name is Sophie and welcome to another video. It might be a bit late in the month, but I thought I'd talk you through my March TBR because I do have one. I made a whole TikTok about how I was changing the way I make my TBRs this month, and I kind of have, but also because of a new release coming out, I haven't had to do anything, this is all a choice, but I've added in a couple of Kindle Unlimited books to to catch up on a series before a new release comes out. So my TBR this month is 9 books long, and I will talk more at the end about how I am changing this from my typical TBR, and hopefully from April my TBRs will be more achievable. I only started making monthly TBRs like last summer. I think August was the first one I made. And my battery light's flashing, so let's see how far we can get. But ever since I started making monthly TBRs, I've called them functional TBRs, not because I don't think other people's TBRs have a function, but because mine does. So the whole function is that I want to make sure I'm making the most of my subscriptions that I'm paying for, and also make sure that I'm reading book club books, 24 in 2024 list books, those kinds of things. Like I said, I have 9 books on this TBR, fulfilling different categories within those functions. So let's just jump right in with the book I'm currently reading. So the books that I am reading on Kindle Unlimited this month in the run-up to a new release are A Game of Retribution and A Game of Gods by Scarlett St. Clair. These are the last 2 books in the Hades trilogy, which goes alongside the Persephone trilogy in the Hades and Persephone saga, all by Scarlett St. Clair. And then the book that's coming out on March 12th is A Touch of Chaos, which is book 7 or book 4 to both trilogies, however you want to describe it, which is the conclusion to both trilogies. It's dual perspective, so it's got both Persephone and Hades' point of view, and I'm reading the last 2 books in the Hades trilogy leading up to the release of A Touch of Chaos. And I'm so excited to finish these books and stop having to explain these series every time I talk about them. So I'm currently reading a Game of Retribution, and then I will go on to A Game of Gods and then read A Touch of Chaos when that comes out. So those are the first 3 books on my TBR for this month. Then we move on to the book club pick. It was my husband's turn to choose our book club pick for this month, and he actually took me by surprise by choosing The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. We already have 2 copies of this book in the house. This is my copy that I believe came from my nan's collection, and it's beautiful. I wouldn't say pristine, it's been read, but that's my favourite kind of like second-hand book, for want of a better word. I believe this one was published in the 70s as well, so I won't physically be reading this edition because I want to keep it as nice looking as possible, but I have it on my Kindle. I don't know if I bought it on my Kindle at some point, I don't know if it was available on like Prime Reading or something like that, but somehow it is on my Kindle, so I will be reading it on my Kindle. But after I finish reading the 3 Scarlett St. Clair books, I will be reading The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, and this may end up with me wanting to read the entire Lord of the Rings, but we'll see, because that's a big commitment. But I'm excited to read my first Tolkien book because I'm a big fan of the universe. You know, I've seen all the films, I've seen the film Tolkien about the author, and it is one of my favourite films of all time, so I really should have read this already, so I'm glad that my husband has chosen it. And this is also on my 24 in 2024 list, so it'll be another book off that list as well. Next we have what I'm calling kind of a subsidiary of the book club pick. It's kind of to do with the book club, it's to do with the wedding library, but one of the goals I've set myself for this year is that I want to read the box set of the famous 5 books I have by Enid Blyton, and I wanted to read one a month. I didn't get off to a great start because I didn't read one in January, but I did read 2 in February, so I'm back on track. So in March I want to read book 3 in the series, which is 5 Run Away Together. These books are really easy to read, they're very digestible. You know, they're children's books, there's pictures in them. This one's about 200 pages, so I think it will be a nice palate cleanser after what I believe will be quite a heavy fantasy book in The Hobbit. Then we move on to my 2 picks from my 24 in 2024 list, which in hindsight I should only have picked 1 because I've already got one because of The Hobbit, but here's what it is and all that. So the first pick from my 24 in 2024 list for this month is The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, and the entire reason I chose this book out of the 23 books on this list that I haven't read yet is because the one I have read inadvertently was the first book in the list if you sorted them alphabetically by author's surname, which is how I have them listed in my book journal. And I thought, well, if I've already started with the first one alphabetically, I might as well continue alphabetically, and to be fair, The Hobbit is the last one alphabetically, so maybe I could just kind of work from the outside in. Working from the top, we have The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, which is the first book in the Dreamland Billionaires series. I believe it's a contemporary romance. I've heard a lot about this online. I've heard quite mixed opinions. I've heard people that are absolutely obsessed and adore this book, and some people that just think it's a bit much. So I'm looking forward to reading it and finding out what I think about it and forming my own opinions. And then the second book from the 24 in 2024 list, following the alphabetical by author surname thing, we have Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. I'm really looking forward to this, but also I'm trying not to go in with too many expectations, because I think I've seen so much hype around the cozy fantasy sphere, and I've kind of already built up an opinion of this book having not read it yet, and I'm just trying to limit my expectations so that I don't go in expecting it to be this and then it meets me halfway. Do you know what I mean? I just don't want to be disappointed by this book, so I'm trying to manage my expectations, but I'm really looking forward to reading it, and I think I will really enjoy it. And then the last two books on my TBR for this month are my Illumicrate and Afterlight subscriptions. And from Afterlight in February we got Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. I read my first ever Tessa Bailey book before Christmas, and I really enjoyed her writing style. I love how she writes quite extreme contemporary romances in like really ridiculous scenarios, but she's not trying to play them off as realistic, or, you know, she knows that they're not groundbreaking, they're just fun little contemporary romances. And now she's trying to make golf sexy, and I'm honestly all for it. I'm really looking forward to reading this one, and I think this edition is stunning with these sprayed edges that kind of wrap around from the design at the front. Really, really cute. Really looking forward to reading this. And last but by no means least is my Illumicrate book from my February subscription, and that is To Cage a God by Elizabeth May. I think this cover is stunning, but I was already in two minds about Illumicrate, because the Illumicrate books I have read from my subscription have all been quite disappointing and I haven't really enjoyed them. So I'm kind of not expecting to enjoy this, but also there was another aspect in that one of the things I love about Illumicrate is that you don't know what book you're getting. You get a vague plot summary and some like tropes and things like that, but you don't actually know what book you're getting till it arrives. But they announced this book a couple of months in advance, so I knew exactly what was coming, and that just kind of destroyed the surprise element for me. So I'm already kind of not looking forward to reading this book. The premise is kind of meh. I'm not too... I don't think it's a book I would have picked up of my own accord, but it's a book that has been published through Illumicrate's own publishing house, Daphne Press, so they're clearly just pushing their own publication. And, you know, the cover is pretty, the sprayed edges are really, really cool. I do like them. The whole cover design is really well done, but I'm really not expecting a lot from this story, and it's another long one. I think it's at least 450 pages, and that's a lot of commitment. So will I get to this book this month? Realistically, no, but it is on my list. These are the 6 physical books on my TBR for this month, and I've got 3 more in the Scarlett St. Clair books. 2 of them are Kindle Unlimited titles, and one of them is a new release that I will be receiving. So that is my March TBR. I'm really looking forward to all of these books actually, and here's the juicy gossip, if that's what we want to call it. The way I'm changing my TBR is that I'm no longer going to be giving myself 2 Kindle Unlimited titles to read and 2 Audible titles to read, because I'm not concerned about not using Audible enough. I know that I'm using my Audible account to the fullest at the moment, and I think part of the reason I wanted to initially include them in my TBR is because I was concerned that I wasn't using the subscription enough. Especially with Audible, I'm not concerned about that at all. So I'm not bothered about adding Audible titles to my monthly TBRs. And with Kindle Unlimited, I feel like it's forcing myself to detract from my own physical TBR. I'm kind of forcing myself to read books that aren't on my physical TBR at the expense of my physical TBR. So I don't know if I'm going to be cancelling my Kindle Unlimited subscription, especially because I need it to read the 2 Scarlett St. Clair books, but I think it's something that I will be considering saving a bit of money on in the long run, because I just don't read fast enough to justify having it at the moment. So that removes 4 books from my TBR immediately. I'll still have the book club book because I'm not going to stop that anytime soon. I'll still have my Favourites 5 book, and then depending on whether I keep my Illumicrate and Afterlight subscriptions, I will still have those. I have skipped the March Illumicrate box, so that's 1 less book for my April TBR. But I think this will help me be able to actually achieve reading all of the books on my TBR. I'll be able to get through some of my 24 in 2024 faster. I'll be able to get through some of my priority TBR and more of my backlog, because I have over 400 books that I care enough to have spent money on and keep in my collection, and I do want to read them, so I needed to change my TBR to be able to give myself the opportunity to read more of them. I hope that makes sense. That's everything I've got to say for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you make monthly TBRs, please let me know what is on your TBR for this month down in the comments. Otherwise, I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you next time for another bookish video. Bye!